Well, hello and good morning. It is so good to see you all here this morning. I see we still have some folks trickling in, and here we are. Lo and behold, you have made it to church on time, on a daylight savings time day. And oh my word, we have been doing this virtually for a year. Wow. Good morning. I'm so glad you all are here. I'm so glad you all have made it. I'm glad you got up on time. I'll be interested to see who comes in at 11:30 this morning. Keep your eyes out as well for whoever comes in at 11:30. It's really good to be here. It's really, really good to be here with you all on this 1-year anniversary. So let's just take a deep breath as we get started in worship this morning. Just a deep breath in and out. A breath of arrival, a breath of getting here, a breath of getting started. And we will certainly get our worship service started this morning with a prelude from our fabulous music director, Brock Chesvold. Brock, thank you so much. What a beautiful start to our service this morning. Well, good morning and welcome to the First Universalist Church of Rochester, where we are called to nurture the Spirit and to serve the community. Whoever you are, we welcome you. Wherever you come from, we welcome you. Whomever you love, we welcome you, and wherever you find yourself after a full year of pandemic mode, we welcome you. We welcome all of you. It is good, it is good, it is good to be together this morning. If you were here for the first time this morning, we especially welcome you. Thank you so much for making your way to this online virtual worshiping community. We're so grateful that you are here. There's a visitors form. The link is in our chat this morning, and we invite you to just click on that visitors form and access that link and fill out that form at your convenience. It doesn't need to be now, but we want to welcome you beyond this virtual sacred space. This is a welcoming and a joyful community, so please let us welcome you and fill out that form. As we gather this morning, as many of us have already been doing, we invite you to pop into the chat. Please offer a greeting, hello, how are you, a good morning, it's good to be here, even just, I need some more coffee this morning, whatever it is that you want to offer. We are just grateful that you are here today. Welcome. Welcome to worship at First Universalist Church. Our hymn this morning is a hymn of comfort, and a hymn I think that we all could use, a little balm for the spirit, balm for the soul as we get started this morning. So let us join hearts and voices in singing our opening hymn, hymn 1045, There is a Balm in Gilead, recognizing that even as we are singing muted in our own homes, and as we have been singing muted in our own homes, we are creating a song across our city of Rochester, the country, and the world. So let us sing together hymn number 1045, There is a Balm in Gilead.
There is a Good morning, friends. How many of us know these words? 525,600 minutes. 525,000 moments so dear. 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year? This year was measured for us in toilet paper. This year was measured in loaves of sourdough bread. This year was measured in isolated sorrow. This year was measured in cloth obscured smiles. This year was measured in protests. This year was measured in hope. This has been a year, but here we are, together still. So come, let us worship together. As we light our chalice at First Universalist Church and in our own homes, will you join me in saying our chalice words in unison? May we be a people of welcome, here to grow in heart and mind and spirit, and may we reach out to serve our community. Please join me in our affirmation of faith, followed by our doxology. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the source and meaning of life. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all.
Dear ones, it is so good to see you all here this morning and so good to see your faces. This morning we are coming together to honor that we have been doing this for a year. And I have to say, as Rachel asks us, how do we measure this year? Here at First Universalist, we measure this year in connections. We measure this year in how we are with one another. And of course, we measure this year as a year of generosity, as a year of giving, as a year of recognizing that some have what others do not, as a year of recognizing that our generosity has a very deep impact. This has been an extremely generous year here at First Universalist, and on behalf of your staff and your ministry team, I am so deeply grateful for all of the ways that you have been supporting us in this past year in doing this work. Holding a worship service online and switching to an online format, a virtual format, is no small feat. It takes a lot. And we'll be hearing a bit of that story in just a moment. But first, of course, we had to shift also a year ago into figuring out how do we still sustain the life and the worshiping life and the gathering life of this community. How do we still connect with one another here? We still connect through one another here through your generosity, through your giving, through your gifts. And from the bottom of my heart and from the bottom of our staff's heart and from this community's heart, thank you. We know that it is our duty and our obligation here to step up and give when others cannot, and to be generous in the days ahead. And so, friends, our offering will now be collected here for the good works of this fabulous, amazing First Universalist Church community. Please click the link in the chat to give online to First Universalist Church, or you can always just do it the old-fashioned way and send a check to the church right here at 150 South Clinton Avenue. We are so, so grateful for your generosity. Thank you. And now we will hear from our virtual choir in a song of Drawing the Circle Wide, a song of broader inclusion, a beautiful song written by Mark Miller from our choir.
Draw the circle wide, draw it So through this last part of the pandemic, one of Walter's favorite characters in books is Pete the cat. And he always goes through these different wardrobe problems. Things happen to him that challenge and change his wardrobe. And each time the book asks, did Pete cry? And answers, goodness, no. This pandemic, your staff has gone through so many changes in our jobs and how we do them. And have we cried? Yes, many, many times. But we just kept on going along, singing our UU song with all of your love and support. Thank you. So here's some of our staff stories going into the pandemic a year ago.
So right before this pandemic hit, we got to be together to celebrate our usual choir Sunday. Obviously one of my favorite Sundays of the year. And after this wonderful Sunday, I was actually traveling to New York City to see a friend during spring break. And COVID was sort of starting to be in the news, especially in the US. And I remember talking to some friends about, do I go? Is this a thing I should be worried about? I did decide to go. And while I was there, I was hearing more and more on the news. Keep in mind, I flew there on an airplane. I was flying there back from there on Wednesday that week. I flew home and I gave Lane a call because this was really blowing up in the news enough that I just said, should I be looking at a Sunday off maybe? Like, I've been on an airplane, I've been in New York City. We don't know how this is all playing out. Maybe I shouldn't be in church for this week. And Lane was kind of dealing with all of this too and said, like, let's stay tuned. I'm not really sure what's going to happen with all of this. So that was Wednesday night. Thursday morning, Lane gave me another call and said, we're going online. Like, we don't know what we're doing with this, but we're going to figure it out on Sunday. And hopefully we'll be back in a couple weeks. So it was kind of the original idea. So we all know how that played out. But yeah, that's sort of how our week started out with all of this.
So our first online worship started with a couple days notice. We decided to do it on Facebook Live, like we've been doing our sermons for a while. And it was actually, it must have looked pretty funny because we set up my tripod that we usually use and we kind of had things centered all around it so I could turn it. And I feel bad for some people. I'm sure some of them got a little bit dizzy because it looked like the Blair Witch Project is sure. So we'd finish with one part and then we'd swoop it over and then focus on another part. But I feel like it went pretty well considering how quickly we had to set it up. And honestly, it all still seemed so unreal that this was going on. I figured that this would be going on for maybe like a week or two. And then we'd be back to normal, and this would be a small little blip in the worship year that we'd look back on in like a couple months and be like, wasn't that weird? And then after that first one, when it kept going on and we decided to stay online and we decided to transfer to Zoom, I feel like we did that mainly because we really wanted to be more accessible to everyone because not everyone's on Facebook. It's easier to send out the links for that. The security on it seemed like it was a lot better. And it was a lot easier to handle like joys and sorrows in the chats because trying to see that, it was kind of impossible when you're doing it on Facebook Live with just one camera. So in the first few weeks, I did all of the Zoom tech roles and it made my brain hurt a while. And luckily, as a staff, we came up with the idea of the Zoom tech team, which helped so much. I was able to actually focus more on those things. And one phrase that I just keep remembering was that we'll probably be back in the church by Easter. And we said that, and then the whole rest of the year, it kept coming back to kind of haunt me. And it kept reminding me like, wow, this was something that we thought was going to be so little, and it grew so big. But I feel like we've handled it pretty well so far.
And so early on, we thought, well, maybe it would be okay if just a few of us got together, safely, social distance like. And then one of us found out that we had been exposed to someone who might have had COVID. And so the entire staff and 2 of our volunteers had to put ourselves on a 2-week quarantine, us and our partners. So then it was suddenly realized, oh, this COVID thing, this is real. This is a little scary. And then it was like, no, we really can't get together. And even any small groups, even being safe, it's just not safe enough for the whole church. So then we made the change to moving all of our groups and programs and committees to Zoom and online. And some of the groups were like, no, we'll wait out this pandemic thing. Understandable. We all thought it was a few weeks. But over time, we moved all the groups on when we realized that this COVID thing was not going away. And during that time, because people needed more time together to interact, to have support, we started 2 new small group ministry groups. We started midweek meditations on Wednesdays, which Reverend Lane and myself co-lead. And that's been an adventure. Every week, something was different, some new tech to learn about. Our job descriptions are completely different from what they originally were. And then came Zoom bombing. So people who for some reason want to be disruptive will burst into a meeting and play all sorts of noise and banter and interact and be aggressive and play video scenes of disturbing images and pornography. Before the new security on Zoom, our midweek meditation got Zoom bombed. And I'm trying to get out the people who came in who aren't supposed to be there, and they just kept coming, and there's so many. We ended up shutting down midweek meditation and gathering back together for like a debrief, where we learned that for several of our church members, that was the first time that they had ever seen pornography. So now we're thinking maybe we need an adult sexuality education support class. So who knew of the things in COVID? I never expected that I would watch my first slice of pornography at a church meeting.
So once it became clear that we were going to be doing this a while, and once I survived my sudden shift to my semester at school being online, I realized it would be really neat to do something with the choir other than just waiting around until we're together again. So I had seen people do virtual choirs before. I really didn't know anything about it, but we just decided we were going to give it a shot. So I picked a piece of music that's one of our favorites, and did some research, and I had some great support and help from Brian, as we all know. So he and I just kind of jumped in and decided to try this out. So we got the choir all rehearsed up. We did little coaching sessions together over Zoom, since we couldn't rehearse together in a room. And all the choir people recorded themselves, submitted it to us, and then Brian and I kind of put it all together so that you could see the final product that you also got to see again today. And yeah, I will have you know as well, since that time, I still continually to this day get emails from all over the country and all over the world asking for permission to use our virtual choir in online services all over the place, from California to Connecticut, and all these different churches doing these online things. So it's still out there floating around, and people are watching it and loving it.
And then on Emma's first day off since the pandemic hit, in the middle of April, Zoom broke, and we were not able to access our Zoom account. Rev Michelle and I were there, and Rev Michelle was in the room and literally was on the phone with me, and we were personally and individually calling folks who were still in the Zoom room trying to get into the service for up to 45 minutes after the service was supposed to start. We were not able to to start our service that day. And, in the span of like 45 minutes, we drafted a church-wide email. We made all these phone calls. We let folks know. And there were Zoom issues nationwide. And that is the only day that we have missed worship in this entire year.
And then in April or May of 2020, we heard from the president of our denomination, Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, an announcement that she advised us to prepare to be remote until May of 2021. And the first reaction from some folks was, how can this UU Pope come down and tell us what to do with our church? And I can appreciate that. We are an individual authority challenging bunch, but it doesn't work that way. Our president is not our UU Pope, and it was not an edict or something to be enforced. As a staff member, I actually really appreciated it because it was a warning, not in a bad way. But just to prepare. At that point, we were going week to week, month to month. We thought, oh, maybe by Easter. Oh, maybe by the end of the church year. And it kind of felt good inside to prepare ourselves. If we have to do this for the next year, how can we plan to move forward, to do the best, to provide our church members with the care and support and worship experiences they need for a year? And if things change, great, that'll be a great problem to deal with. But it was hard news to hear because it was heartbreaking. And at the same time, it was grounding in how could we plan and move forward together to make it, if we were going to make it for a year.
And make it, we have. We are here a year later. And I remember when that news first came through, I think I actually read Reverend Susan Frederick Gray's email and then shut my computer and just took a moment. Because to me, it did not feel 100% like a relief. It was really the confirmation that we were going to be doing Christmas Eve online, that we were likely going to be doing next Easter online, that we were going to be going through a year of being online. And so here we are, a year later. And the question is, what's next? And the answer is, I don't know. But likely, we'll be looking at ways to be able to worship online, of course, into the future, and online as well as in person when it's safe for us to gather in person. We're going to be looking at ways in the future to be able to still honor the connections that we have, but also to be able to honor the connections that have been built in this time period. And we are looking at ways to be able to be both online and in person, because there are folks in this community that are essential to this community that have only known this church community as a virtual worshiping community. And there are folks here in this community that are essential to this community that still cannot access us online. And so we are going to be a church that is here for both. And what I do know is that we are going to be a church that is here well into the future.
I'm Heather Jones, and I've been a member of the First Universalist Church of Rochester for 31 years. I have served in various ways throughout the years, and it is my particular honor to be a current member of the Caring Committee and to have been asked to do this testimonial. The theme of this year's stewardship campaign, Onward Through the Ages, took me back to the 1960s. Written in an historic American building survey done in 1966, the walls of our church were described like this. Walls are brick with stone and ceramic tile trim. The hard-burned bricks, 2 1/4 inches by 4 inches by 12 inches, are laid in running band and in patterns. The color of the bricks varies from dull orange red to neutral purple with some lighter yellowish tones. The mortar joints, which are tooled to a slightly convex profile, vary in width from 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. The mortar, a warm yellow ochre color, contains very small pebbles and crushed brick fragments. These are our walls. It's almost like poetry. Our hard-burned bricks are the many challenges we've faced over our many years. The color of the bricks, some dull, some neutral, some lighter, are the stories that have been told and lived throughout the years. They are the stories that connect us now and to those from our past. And the mortar, the precious mortar, holding everything together, is a warm yellow with its tiny pebbles and crushed brick. We and those who came before us are the mortar. Our love for one another and our mission to nurture the spirit and serve the community binds us together today as it has since our beginning. It has been almost a full year since we have met one another within the walls of our church. We see each other in tiny blocks on our screens, and that is a kind of mortar too. These are the faces we have come to love. Soon we shall be together again and once more read these words on the wall of the choir loft below the central window, an inscription of 3 lines. The lines are lettered in narrow, dark green Roman capitals. The initial letter of each word is vermilion. A small green cross is placed between each word. We know these lines by heart. And now abideth faith, hope, love, these 3, but the greatest of these is love. Love will lead us onward through the ages, just as it has done before. And it is love of our church that leads me to make my yearly pledge.
As we continue to allow love to lead us, and as we enter into this deeply loving ritual with one another, it is time to join in sharing the joys and the sorrows of our gathered community. If you would like to, you can place a hand over your heart to be able to listen from this heart-centered place. As I place stones into a bowl of water, I will read aloud the joys and the sorrows of our gathered community. All are invited to share your joys and your sorrows in the chat, and I will do my best to keep up with them, that we may hear from the community gathered here in this sacred virtual space. Dear ones, this morning I share a joy from Susan Reedy and Mary Kay Keenahan, who are celebrating their 32nd anniversary this week. Congratulations, Susan and Mary Kay, 32 years. Amazing. We share a sorrow this morning from Dolores DeLamba, and I imagine from Tim Mullins as well. Sorrow at the death of Tim Mullins' 97-year-old mother. She died peacefully on Friday, March 12th. Family members Zoomed and others visited from Pennsylvania the 2 days before her death. Her eldest daughter and son, Tim, were present when she passed, along with her second loving family, the memory caregivers at the Friendly Home where she had resided since 2019. She was a mother of 7, grandmother of 12, great-grandmother of 4, and she will be deeply missed. We have a joy today from Dwight Montague, who had a friend over in his house, person to person, with masks. Isn't it an ever-evolving world, Dwight? Holding you all in the connections that you are able to make at this point safely. From Lois Baum, finally resolving a bad week of allergic reactions to my post-op eye drops. Lois, grateful that you are resolving that and holding your health in our hearts. A joy from Hal Bauer and Gail Mosher for the passage of the COVID relief bill. The boats for many families and children are raised. Yes, yes. So grateful for that piece of legislation and what it's doing. Joy Lasezzi shares a joy that she got an appointment for the vaccine at the convention center today. Yay, awesome. What a joy to get to be here with you as that is transpiring. Dear ones, I just want to hold that we are here at the end of another week of seeing police brutality this weekend, and we're seeing also with sorrow in the chat from two folks here, sorrow for Reverend Myra Brown, whose cousin Tayshawn Jones was the recent victim of police killing here in Rochester. So we're just holding Tayshawn Jones and his family in, of course, our hearts, and holding all of our city of Rochester in our hearts, especially those who are living with mental illness and addiction, or neurodivergence and addiction. Joy from Beth Ayers, the COVID vaccine also available at many CVS and Kinney Drugs. Awesome. And from John Lukes and Carol Zimberland, continuing to be grateful for our new president. What a difference an election can make. Dear ones, I will, happy for Johanna, back surgery this week. Johanna, we are hoping you are healing well and holding you in our hearts and in our thoughts, hoping things went smoothly and quickly, just as you anticipated. I will just drop one final stone into the bowl to represent all of the joys and the sorrows left unspoken in the silent sanctuaries of our hearts. May all be held in the heart of love. Today, as we do each Sunday now, we light a white candle to acknowledge that we are a community affected by the grief, the loss, the fear, and the hope of vaccination in the midst of a pandemic. We light this candle to acknowledge that as we also share the news of being vaccinated, there are still so many who are not able to access vaccines due to age, due to different life circumstances. We light this candle and also acknowledge that a vaccine has not yet been found for our children and for our youth. And we just hold in our hearts that that is a day we are waiting for, looking forward to, and certainly for those of us who do so, praying for. May this candle's flame hold our experiences around this past year with this horrific disease, all of the loss, all of the fear, all of the grief, all of the joy, all of the relief, all of the hope. May the light of this candle be a beacon of hope and a reminder that we are not alone. Dear ones, this morning we are offering a prayer, and I just want to invite you all to center in for a time of prayer and meditation. Get comfortable where you are seated. Lean into your chair or your couch or wherever you are calling it from, into the floor you're sitting on, wherever you are. This morning we are offering a prayer for Tayshawn Jones and for all people living with mental illness and neurodivergence in this time period especially. As a church in the city of Rochester, we gather another Sunday morning, a week after another Black man has been killed during a mental health call to our local police force, almost a year after Daniel Prude's death for a similar call. Many of us here, as well as our families, our friends, and our loved ones, struggle with and have lived with neurodivergence. This is a prayer for all of us. In the mornings when waking up is difficult, when the need to be in bed is soul tending, when the mind cannot take much more, when we must retreat to honor what we are experiencing, may we be held and understood. in the moments when we say what is often out of character, when the medication wears out and is no longer working, when we are forgetful about what we need to do to care for ourselves, when we sit with deep regret and even lack of awareness of what we have said and done, may forgiveness find us, and may we be held and understood. This isolation, this pushing others away, this prickly demeanor, may those who come across this behavior know it is not personal. No, it is the depression, the schizophrenia, the bipolar, the PTSD, the many labels, the many diagnoses, and may we be held and understood in the pain, in the complications, in the agony. May we be held and understood. May our humanity be honored. May the help we receive be given with compassion. May this world see us as more than just the labels. May our wholeness, just as we are, be affirmed. May we be treated as human beings. May this world find the strength to accept us and help us and see our humanity. May we in this room recognize when we have fallen short of these ideals and grieve those moments. May we hold in our hearts all of the family members, the mothers, the fathers, the parents, the siblings, the cousins, the children. May we hold all of those who have not known what to do in the midst of crisis, all of those who have felt helpless, all of those who wish they knew what to do. May we hold all of those in our hearts, and may they be understood and held as well. May we take action to make the commitment to do better by ourselves and by others. Spirit of life, larger love. May those who are struggling, have struggled, will struggle again, be held and understood. May we grieve and honor all who have been lost, both to mental illness and to systems that do not support healing. May we continue to work towards a world where all may receive the treatment and the healing they require and they deserve. And may we be reminded, especially this morning, that we need to do better by those who are living with mental illness and neurodivergence in this community. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. As we join in silence together, we hold in our hearts and minds all that we know who live with neurodivergence and mental illness, including ourselves. We hold in the silence our city of Rochester and all who knew and are grieving Tyshawn Jones, especially holding Reverend Myra Brown, to whom we are connected to here in this community. Let us join in a moment of imperfect, shared silence together. Dear ones, as we return from our shared silence, let us join in a hymn of contemplation for our times, in a hymn of contemplation that feels so essential right now. Hymn number 1023, Building Bridges. Let us build bridges between our divisions.
Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions. I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
Well, dear ones, our reading this morning comes from this community, from you all. I put out a call in these last few weeks for folks to share with us what we are missing and what we have learned over the course of the past year. At first, responses trickled in from folks who have been long-term members here, folks like Heather shared earlier, people who have been here for 31 years, which is kind of amazing. And then this past week, I began receiving responses from some of you who have only known this church as a virtual worshiping community. This exercise reminded me that we are, as a congregation of many experiences, and that we are a church that is holding both the memories of the before times and the memories of Soli this past year. So Rev Michelle and I will be joining together to actually read first the litany of what we have been missing, and then we will transition into what we are learning. And I want to just invite you, as we sit through this time, to just listen with an open heart, to pay attention to where your truth is being spoken around what you are missing and what you have learned in this last year.
What we are missing. I miss many, many things. I am surprised how much I miss singing in a group. One thing I miss is the innocence and comfort of world health. I miss coming to church. I don't feel secure enough on Zoom.
Opening up our house to entertain friends, a surprising discovery since I am an introvert. I have missed the in-person connection with family and friends the most.
I am missing the steady feeling that I developed after retirement. Physically gathering with friends and family.
More hugs and smiles, please. I miss noshing in the good company of the Clara Barton Lounge.
In-person Sunday services, although online services have been a blessing. Freedom to visit folks, travel, be spontaneous, and making music with our congregation members in choir and elsewhere.
One thing I miss is singing with our church choir. I have missed teaching and quilting at Building Community through Quilting because I have helped people learn quilting techniques while establishing a space where they feel less isolated.
I miss being able to plan and look forward to activities, from big vacations to little things like live local music. I miss having a commute during which I could listen to audiobooks.
One thing I'm missing is sharing meals with others around our dining room table. The two things I have missed most is hugging people and singing at church.
I miss being near other people without feeling that they are a danger to me. Something I lost, an entire year in my dwindling time left in this life, my first realization of my mortality in this way.
What I missed most is the hugs and touch and seeing facial expressions beyond that of my beautiful husbands. I miss most of all being able to give and receive hugs and long, leisurely restaurant lunches with good friends.
Trips to visit family, surprisingly eating out in a restaurant because it was not a usual event. I think perhaps part of what I was missing was trying new things to eat.
International travel. At my age, I get concerned that losing 2 years might mean that I might not ever get there, especially with my spouse. Swimming and going to the gym, walking is good, but it's not the same.
Going out on a date, especially to the theater or a concert, going to church on Sundays, and meeting Colby and hearing live music.
What I miss most is the outdoors. It's hard to be outside without a lot of anxiety, and I miss the peace of sitting outside to enjoy the day. I ache for human touch, hugs with family and friends.
What I missed, those things I lost, like my patience and my marbles. I miss going out to the movies.
I miss hugs. I miss being my own version of normal, but I am so grateful to just be.
What have we learned? I have learned that I can give lectures to a camera in an otherwise empty room, but I don't like it very much. To let go and to trust in goodness that prevails if I get out of the way.
I learned I probably always was and probably always will be a diabetic or the lucky sort who can regulate it through activity and a greens-based diet. How to adapt to feeling afraid every day.
I have learned that you shouldn't take even the simplest things for granted. I have learned that anything can happen at any time and that I am not as invincible as I thought.
How important it is to me to be in nature, learn to let go a little and imperfectly of expectations.
How wonderful it is to have plenty of free time. I'm 70 and will not live another 70. What's important now?
I haven't caught a cold in the past year. I've learned that my reactive lungs appreciate that very much. I've learned how little control we have over our lives.
I learned that the internet has value. I enjoy dissing the internet usually. One thing I learned is that Animal Crossing has saved my sanity.
I have learned or relearned that I don't mind being alone because it creates a space for me to be creative. I have learned that masks are great for keeping my nose warm in the wintertime and that grief is harder in isolation.
One thing I've learned is how very much everyone in my church community matters to me. During this first COVID year, what became abundantly clear to me is realizing how critical our financial support is for causes we care about the most. So this year, I have made a concerted effort to direct extra money to businesses and nonprofits, specifically embracing the rights and lives of non-human animals.
I learned how absolutely resilient people can be, especially my patients. What I have learned is that in no way do our systems serve the largest number of our population.
Because of the format of virtual coffee hour, I have learned so much more about the personal stories of many members of the congregation. My relationships have grown deeper. I have learned how much easier it is to just wear and if need be, wear out the clothes I have rather than to keep shopping. Cheaper too.
I've learned that less socializing and less running around is good for me. With Zoom, I have been able to attend many more meetings than would have been possible before. I'm putting this as a positive because I always have a choice, but it has widened my options about what I have been exposed to.
Of course, we all knew intellectually that our world would change radically in a short period of time, but this pandemic made all of us experience change and loss in ways that we could not control. In the past year, I have learned that being part of a community is something very important to me, and that I can still maintain my boundaries while doing so.
I learned how many people see the world differently than I. I've learned to be quiet and still, and that it's okay to be quiet and still, and that there is a lot of value in this.
What I learned, I am much better at Sudoku and crossword puzzles than at exercise and house cleaning. I need very little material goods to get along. And finally, hope comes from within. I never lost hope.
You are not hidden. There's never been a moment you were forgotten. You are not hopeless. You have been broken, your innocence stolen. I hear your whisper underneath your breath. I hear your SOS, your SOS. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. There is no distance that cannot be covered over and over. You're not defenseless. I'll be your shelter, I'll be your armor. I hear your whisper underneath your breath. Hear yours, your SOS. I will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. And I will never stop marching to reach you in the middle of the hardest fight. It's true, I will rescue you. I hear the whisper underneath your breath. I hear you whisper, you've got nothing left. We will send out an army to find you in the middle of the darkest night. It's true, I will rescue you. And we will never stop marching to reach you in the middle of the hardest fight. It's true, we will rescue you. Oh, we will rescue you.
Thank you so much, Kitty, for singing this morning, and we'll get to hear from Kitty one more time before our service is done. How do we measure this year, my friends? Is it in what we have missed and what we have learned? In the check-ins about whether or not we have been vaccinated? In the ways we stuck together? In the people who have been a part of this community for years and the people who have only known First Universalist as a virtual worshiping community? In what we have survived? In how many rolls of toilet paper and how many canned goods we have stocked away? In uprisings? In quiet moments? Where I think we can look towards is what we are learning about ourselves, to who we are and what in us is true. We are learning about our social lives, our relationship to the world beyond our own homes. We are learning about our need for community and our need for connection with the sacred. We are learning that we can collectively survive trauma, though we know that the costs of what we are living through have yet to be seen. We are learning that our need for connection is so very strong that we would even add another Zoom meeting to our weeks just to come to church each Sunday morning. And we are learning that we need church now more than ever. That being together and exploring our own spiritual and theological depths as individuals and as a community is something that we are in need of in moments of crisis. Heather reminds us this morning, we are each important here, each connected, part of a legacy as well as part of the future of this community. We look different and we are different than what our ancestors could have ever imagined. Well, there is also a common thread, a common tie we share that continues to bind us from the past into the present moment, and an unending line, a circle of connecting thread that will draw us into the future. We need one another. We need one another to survive. We are better when we are together. We cannot go through this life completely alone. I wish and I want to tell you today that our future is planned, that our church has reopening plans with all perfectly included and everyone's needs met. But alas, that is not the world that we live in. What I can tell you is that in the year ahead, we will continue to learn about who we are, what our limitations are, and exactly what we are willing to risk in order to gain back some sense of normal. And this church, our connections will be strengthened the more that we accept that our moving together will not be perfect. We will make mistakes that hurt one another. We will fail one another in ways we cannot even imagine just yet. We will likely have more tech glitches, though we hope to never be Zoom bombed again. We will likely need to learn new things and new ways of being together. What I can tell you is that change is still going to continue. We will still be innovating, we will still be evolving, and we will likely never return back to normal, whatever normal was before. What has happened to our world and to our church community is not normal. We have to redefine our expectations and accept that returning back to the way things have always been is an impossible task. And what I can tell you is that in learning about who we are and learning about the truth of who we are, I am feeling hopeful about the future of the church, of this church, a First Universalist. I'm feeling hopeful about the essential connections we are making amongst one another and in our community. I am hopeful that we are circling and ever circling towards a clarity of purpose, why our church exists right here and now, why we gather like this, why we continue to gather even in the midst of a pandemic, having missed only one Sunday in a full year. And this clarity of purpose is essential because I believe people need church in the midst of a pandemic. And I imagine people will need church even more into the future. Connections to one another and to the sacred are so deeply valuable. We know this after a year of living in physical isolation. We know this because we are here now together, still emotionally and spiritually connecting after a year. And I imagine that places for communities to gather, that places for people to be together, that places for people to connect to a higher calling and to something larger than themselves might just become even more important as we are able to regather however slowly we will need to take that transition, and however we are to navigate ways to both be in person and continue to gather online, acknowledging that some of us are immunocompromised and likely do not know when we will feel safe to be together physically again. Acknowledging that while some of us are able to be vaccinated, a vaccine for children has not yet been developed. I love this last line from our litany this morning. Hope comes from within. I never lost hope. Perhaps this is your truth and perhaps it isn't. I was sitting with someone this past week who said that if someone had pointed out that we would be doing this for a year right at the beginning of this pandemic, they would have had a really hard time with it. But being able to swallow this past year in small chunks, a few months at a time, a few small chunks at a time at a time, that's what helped them get through it. I believe many of us are here because we are hopeful about our future, because we can see something new on the horizon, because we are here looking forward to change and to what is to come. What I also know is that this church has been here for nearly 175 years, and we will be here into the future. What I know is that this congregation has been incredibly generous in the year that has passed, and I imagine that generosity will continue in the year ahead. What I know is that our moving forward into the next year and into thinking about what is to come, we are better together. We are going to need all of us to share what our needs are and to work towards a new phase and mode of gathering. And I have to share with you all, I cannot imagine a better group of people to be on this journey with. It is an honor and it is a privilege to get to be with you in this wild, wacky past year and in the years to come. Dear ones, as we look back, let us also look ahead. What a year it has been. And what times we have ahead together. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. May the conversation ever be evolving and continuing. As we sit with this ever-evolving world, as our worship planning team was gathering to talk about how we close this service, we picked one of our favorite hymns. Hymn number 163, For the Earth Forever Turning. As we sing muted from our own homes, again, we invite you to remain, to sing out joyfully from wherever you are, creating a collective song with one another.
For
dear ones, this morning as we wipe our eyes, we also extinguish our chalice flame from wherever we find ourselves by joining in unison and saying these words. We extinguish this flame, but we keep its light in our hearts with its message of love and justice, taking it outside these walls to the world we live in until we are together again. I have to remind myself as we say these words that we have been together, dear ones, and we are here together again. So let us reach out. I invite you to turn your view to gallery view. I'm going to do the same so we can look upon one another's faces, all of the beautiful folks gathered here. Let us reach out and join our hands, this embodied ritual, creating a circle, an unbroken line, an unending line of folks gathered here for 175 years thus far, which we will be celebrating in April, and 175 years to come, dear ones. Oh, as we go forth this morning, may we remember that it is good to be together. May we remember that we need one another to survive. May we remember what has happened for us in this past year, and may we go forward with our hearts strengthened for the year ahead. We are here, we have made it, and we will continue to move forward. May you know that you are loved, and may you take that love in your hearts to wherever you go in the days, in the moments, in the week ahead. Amen. Blessed be, and may it be so. And dear ones, as we listen to our beautiful postlude from Kitty Forbush and from our fabulous music director, Brock Chesvold, I'll invite you to follow our benediction with the line, I carry the flame into the year ahead, and let us carry that flame together.
I've come to sing a song about hope. I'm not inspired much right now, but even so, I came out here to sing a song, so here I go. I guess I think that if I tinker long enough, one might appear. And look, it's here. One verse is done. The work's begun. I've come to sing a song about hope. In spite of everything ridiculous and sad, though I'm beyond belief, depressed, confused, and mad, well, I got dressed. I underestimated how much that would take. I didn't break until right now. I sing of hope and don't know how. So maybe I can substitute strength because I'm strong. I'm strong enough. I got through lots of things I didn't think I could. And so did you. And so did you. And so I sing a song about hope. Though I can't guarantee there's something real behind it, I have to try and show my loved ones we can find it. And so today, when life is crazy and impossible to bear, it must be there. Fear never wins. That's what I hope. See, I said hope, the work begins. So maybe we can solve song about hope. Though we can't guarantee there's something real behind it, we have to try and show our loved ones we can find it. And so today, when life is crazy and impossible to bear, it must be there. Fear never wins. That's what I hope. See, I said, oh.